Let's begin. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're joining from. This is Arpit Rastogi. I am part of the product marketing team at Ameyo, and I welcome you all to this webinar session on building your brand's caller identity using Truecaller solution. This webinar is being brought to you by Ameyo and with our strategic partner Truecaller. So I hope you make the most of this session. So yeah, let's begin. So before we begin, I just wanted to check if I'm being heard by you all and if you can see my screen. If you can, then you can probably ping in the chat and then we can move on from there. Great. So setting a few guidelines here. So if you have any questions, you can obviously post it in the chat and the panelists can take it up in due course of time. Also, the recordings of this webinar as well as the slides will be shared to you on your email IDs. So don't worry in case you miss any of the parts. And also you can write to us anytime at marketing@ameyo.com in case you want a full scale demo of the Truecaller solution or if you have any queries. Not able to move my screen. Yeah, so a quick introduction about our speakers. We have Manoj Kumar from Ameyo. Manoj is an industry veteran. He carries 20 years of experience into marketing and operations. He is also an alumna of the prestigious Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur of 99 batch. Currently, Manoj is leading growth and new initiatives. He's the vice president at Ameyo. And also joining us is Mr. Abhimanyu Khanna, who is the director of channel sales at Truecaller. Abhimanyu himself has 10 plus years of experience into channel sales and he has also worked with a lot of big names like HP. So welcome Abhimanyu and Manoj and hope you will give us a lot of guiding in this session. So this is the agenda that we are going to discuss in this webinar. So first, Manoj will set the tone of this webinar by giving a quick brief and glimpse of the EXO Omni-channel support platform that we have just launched. And also in the second part, Abhimanyu will take over and explain the different kinds of customer expectations on business calls and how you can improve your brand's caller identity. In fact, he'll give you a walkthrough of the Truecaller for Business solution. And if you have any questions, you can obviously put it in the chat and he'll be happy to answer. So with this, I give the stage to Manoj to start off the conversation. Over to you, Manoj.
Thank you, Arpit. Hello, good evening, everyone. This is Manoj from Ameyo. This session is for Truecaller Business Identity Solution, the key problem that you face when you are making outbound calls, and how Truecaller Business Identity Solution can solve some of the problems that you are facing. So I am from Ameyo. So you must be knowing that Ameyo, Exotel, and Cogno, they have merged together to form an entity. And basically, we are providing omni-channel support. So omni-channel support is the kind of way forward for providing the superior customer experience. It's something like you are present at all the channels being used by the customer at the right moment, also providing the right kind of interaction and information with your customer. Be it customer initiated conversation or brand initiated conversation. Next slide, please. Right. So you can see this is what we are providing. So we are having multiple use cases, say lead generation use case, user verification use case, collection use case, customer support use case, right? So basically, We are offering a full stack platform with all kind of offerings which can be used by you to interact with your customer, such as contact center, voice APIs, voice bot, chat bots, right? And there could be multiple chat touch points such as web chat, co-browsing, videos. So some of the example use case that we are having is, for example, Ola Cab. You must have heard of Ola Cab. Ola Cab uses our platform to send text messages to its customer. Food delivery giant Swiggy, it relies on us to mask the phone number when a delivery person make a call to the customer. And then we are also having our platform present at banks like say SDFC Bank, where they use us for engage with the customers. And there are multiple other banks as well, such as Kotak 811, IDFC, ICICI Bank. They use our chatbots to get connected with the customers over WhatsApp channel. And Cred, right? They also use our platform to communicate with the customer. So basically, we are having a lot of multiple use cases to make sure that you are having awesome experience when you interact with your customers. We are having a lot of offerings that constitutes a kind of full stack offering. You can just select whatever use case that you are having. We will be having solutions for every use case and all kind of communication channel, be it voice, SMS, WhatsApp, Google Business Messaging, mobile application. We are having everything. Uh, from the perspective of company, we are about 11 years old company, having a team size of more than 1,000 plus and more than 6,000 plus B2B customers across 60 countries. Next slide of it. So, in nutshell, if I just give you a glimpse of how deep we are engaged in any kind of customer journey, just think about a use case of product discovery and purchase, right? So, basically, if somebody is visiting a website or mobile app, right? So, there will be a proactive AI-enabled chatbot for product discovery and lead generation. And then you decide that, okay, I'm going to purchase, then the purchase may be successful and you want to have COD verification, order details, then you can use immediately event triggered system through our API to have such kind of communication. And the product accepts all kind of shipping updates will be available to the users in real time. Starting from this to the customer support or any kind of event need for a live agent support. So you can have everything under one platform. So end-to-end customer journey you can create multiple customer journey. You can also create the personalized customer journey, and depending upon the use case, you can have part of journey automated through chatbot and voice bot. So this is what we are offering as a product and solution to more than 6,000 plus customers.
With this, we'll move on to the Truecaller part, and I request Abhimanyu to take over from here.
Sure. Thank you. And good afternoon to everyone. My name is Abhimanyu. As mentioned, I represent Truecaller for Business and Ameyo, Exotel, Cogno AI, the joint force that is kind of now changing the way we look at the communication market is one of our partners, which offers Truecaller for Business as a solution, right? So what do we kind of aim to achieve with the solution is around identity, safety, and trust, right? These are the three strong pillars which define what Truecaller for Business is kind of powering into the market. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is Truecaller? I'm sure a lot of you must be Truecaller users like you and me. We call ourselves the world's best caller ID app. That is our bread and butter. We help people identify who is calling them. We help people kind of report whether it's a genuine call or a spam call, etc. Right? And what are the numbers that kind of back it up? We've got more than 500 million plus app installs, now touching close to about 300 million plus active users globally. And out of that, close to about 90% are are in our country and powered by some of the most reputed investors. Next slide. Right. What led to the birth of this solution was some great findings around how businesses and customers see kind of calling and solutions, right? So 1 out of 4 business calls that you receive or calls that you receive are outside your phone book. That is basically a number is not saved. So trust is one of the most important component of communication these days. There's a lot of noise into the market. 9 out of 10 business houses, whether small, medium, large business houses, any sector, they are trying to use calling, voice as the main medium to reach out to customers to gain customer attention. So a very astonishing number, 700 million plus are the business calls that are received by Truecaller end users like you and me every day. Now, these calls range from a lot of areas around support, delivery, verification, billing, OTP, scams, offers, etc. Right? So there is a lot of clutter that is happening from business calling. Then we kind of looked at what was the reality check in terms of business calling, right? What was the business expecting when you make a call, right? And there were 4 important points when you make a call to your customer. One was around attention from the customer. Second was that there is a right identification of the brand, or what we call as identity, good conversions, positive pickup rates, etc. And then avoiding some negative feedback as people not marking those numbers as spam or kind of suggesting some other names. So that was from the business side. Now going on to the customer side reality, few things and a number which states that close to about 70% of business calls that were made by businesses to users on the Truecaller platform, 70% of them were either rejected or missed. And the reason is today, end user like you and me don't know who's calling us. Is it relevant or worth my time? Can I trust the caller? What if it's a fake identity, right? So those were the bedrock things of why Truecaller for Business came into existence. Now, what is this verified business program? It's a very simple tool to help you kind of add 3 things to your calling process: trust, safety, and identity, right? What do we do in that? We basically take all your outbound operations number or inbound numbers that you use, which are basically representing the brands to their consumers, add the caller ID, which we call as the right logo and the name accurately. There is a green color that we kind of introduce, which speaks about a positive reassurance that a business is calling them. There is a verified badge and a tick mark below the name. And the most important thing is the zero tampering policy that comes in. Once the identity of a business is set in by business houses like you, the same cannot be changed, or the logo or the tag cannot be tampered on basis of any end user feedback, right? And last is something called as call reason. Is there a way where businesses can tell their consumers that why are we calling them even before the call has been picked up? That is where we launched something called as call reason, which you can see on the screen, whereas a kind of a fictitious bank is calling a customer. We are calling you for a KYC verification, right? So on the left-hand side of the screen is basically that you can see a normal, just an identified call on the basis of user kind of behavior and feedback. And on the right-hand side is where how that number is changed into a verified identity, how the right name, the logo, the sector it represents, and the call reason is added. Next slide. This is something which kind of just gives you a kind of an interpretation how it is shown in 3 different formats. First is a native Android dialer. What does that mean is that all your end customers who are using the Android phone app to make calls or receive calls, they will see it in such a way, which is a half screen mode. The call reason gets added below to it. The second one is in a full screen format. That is where a lot of users of ours, close to about 35-40% of them, use Truecaller as their native calling app. That is that they go to Truecaller and make calls from there, from the dialer pad there, right? So if somebody is using the caller ID as the native Truecaller ID, they will see a full screen when the call comes in. And the last one is on iOS, which is kind of improving day by day for us. iOS as a platform has certain restrictions, but what you can see today is when a call comes in to an iOS user, you get the name and a green tick mark stating that a respective business is calling you. Next slide. Just on a few things, the identity goes behind your call log. So basically, if you're using the same number to send an SMS, the same logo would show. You go and search the respective number on the Truecaller platform. The whole profile of the business would be shown, which is, for example, shown out here for the Dunzo delivery app. Right, certain advantages, as I mentioned, identity with a zero tampering kind of policy, right? So because name is a very important thing. Brand is something which most of the businesses kind of put in a lot of emphasis on, that how well is my brand kind of perceived into the market. So we kind of got into a number which said that close to about 90% of the names that are basically community suggested names are either non-existent or it is not the name that the brand actually wants to depict, right? So with this, identity gets added on with a zero tampering policy where users can't change anything in terms of name, logo, category. Trust and safety. How do you differentiate between genuine calls and scams, right? So the moment there are a lot of customers who work today with us and run customer advocacy campaigns where basically once they come on board, they go ahead and educate their end users, customers, banks, kind of telling them how do they differentiate between a genuine call from an XYZ bank, right? And that's how it is depicted in this screen, which kind of helps you add trust and safety. Now, call reason, as I mentioned, you can add even before the call is made as to why are you calling them. Now, this kind of helps customers know, gives them the confidence, the reason why you're calling them, and in short, kind of helps them to pick up the call if it is important and relevant to them. Okay, now most important, how do we handle spam? Right, spam is something which is basically a user right. If a end user feels that a respective number is kind of from the spam category. Earlier on the left hand side, what you can see is a screen. A lot of you would have seen a red color icon kind of popping in when you get a spam call, which kind of depicts that this is a call which is been marked by a lot of users. You can see any name and identity. Now, what we did is the user community can still block a number or mark a number as spam, but today you get to know that which are the numbers that which have crossed a dynamic spam threshold, which we have introduced for verified businesses, which is basically taking into factors a lot of things around, what are these numbers used for calling for, what kind of user feedbacks are we getting in terms of how many calls have been made in a respective time period, what is the spam marking, other factors around whether this call was answered and then marked as spam or not answered and then marked, and etc. Now, if a respective number, which is a verified business number, earlier what used to happen is the moment you used to get a spam marking, it used to change in red in color. The end user could change the name, identity. Out here in verified business, the end user cannot still change any identity, etc. But once a number crosses the dynamic spam threshold, a small red line starts coming in below the number. Now, you can see just below the central bank, you can see that there's a small red line that comes in. So basically what we are trying to say is that through this verified business program, we are giving you a fair chance even to kind of depict the right identity when the number is marked as spam. Next slide, please. Right, analytics is something which is a key enabler and feature of the solution. Now, and I would request if some of you are interested, please reach out to the Ameyo, Exotel, or the Cogno AI team and see a detailed overview of analytics, because this kind of gives you a lot of information on how your numbers are performing on the Truecaller platform, whether it is in terms of call duration, whether it's term of how many calls were answered in the first attempt, which numbers are spam, etc. Right? So analytics is something which is very important, and plus you can do a lot of things around number grouping, add your call reasons, etc. So please do reach out to the team and have a detailed overview of what analytics comes with the verified business solution. Right. Another thing that we kind of added on was the enhanced feature around number management and on the calling workflow. So what you can do today is basically you can kind of do a number grouping and of your business numbers and get granular information. So basically it helps you around analysis on the basis of a calling process or the number groups for a detailed process. You can kind of get an idea around that. So basically, you can create a number grouping and then get more concise data and manage information in and around that for a specific set of numbers which may be aligned to a process. So, for example, a bank wants to align something for their private banking or wealth banking. That is something that can be done through this. Right, priority caller ID. Right, this is a purple screen. Some of you must have seen this. Right, which is basically a kind of a differentiation that we have as part of the verified business caller ID. This is exclusively for calls that are made by businesses that are important for, in terms of both the end user as well as business time sensitive calls. So this is a very use case dependent solution in which certain numbers, if they are used for any specific purpose, something like maybe a fraud management by a bank where you see a large transaction happening on a credit card and you want to speak to immediately to your customer and say, have you made that transaction? Or a last mile delivery from Amazon or Swiggy where the guy is standing outside to deliver your parcel, right? So this is a very use case based solution. There are no extra charges for any priority caller ID that you can kind of take on that. It is just on you using specific numbers for a specific use cases, which our compliance team feels would fall into the priority caller ID. Right, what are we working on? This, as we mentioned, right, we started off the solution last year. We have close to about 1,000 plus businesses now powered by Truecaller Verified Business. But this overall communication suite is getting much, much better. There are about 3-4 things that are coming in the coming few months. The first one is Call Me Back. Right, this is something which is going to be very critical. You make a call to a customer. He couldn't answer that call. He presses on the Truecaller app, Call Me Back, and you will get an information related to through your dashboard in terms of which are those numbers which told you to call me back. Right, so that is something around maybe people who can't attend calls, and you as a business get information around that. Call feedback. Right, we spend a lot of time sending links through emails, through WhatsApp, through any other messages, etc., for taking a feedback on the call. We are adding call feedback and call ratings around that. And finally is a video caller ID. Today, a business, something what you can see on the screen, can play a video when a call is being made to a respective business. So these are a few features. We are in early access program for a lot of these features. So any one of you who is already an existing client of Truecaller Verified Business through Ameyo, Exotel, or Cogno AI can reach out to us, and maybe we can give you a product demo on any of these features. Certain business use cases, what we've tried to kind of depict out here is taking some examples of 6 key sectors of some of the customers who are kind of powered by Truecaller Verified Business. So talking about logistics and food commerce, right? As there are a lot of calls that you make, maybe it is on support or it is something around on delivery related calls, right? So those are the certain use cases that fall into logistics and food and commerce. BFSI, I think, very important in terms of fraud verifications to warnings, to payments, to maybe features. EdTech, right? Basically, why a counselor or a teacher is calling a parent or a student to educate about a product or maybe his or her performance, etc. Real estate, it can be for calling a prospect, right? You can basically add a call reason to improve conversions. Telecom, right? You can kind of, it can be a reminder call on payments. It can be for adding on any features, etc. Healthcare is basically around your reports collection or setting up of an appointment with the doctor, appointment reminders, insurance claims, right? So this solution is a very kind of a platform or an industry agnostic solution which can be used for multiple, kind of use cases. We have certain examples of companies who are using the solution to manage, automated calls for certain BPOs, automated calls that they do. They just put in the call reason to kind of give a reminder around their pickup for their shift, etc. Right? So multiple reasons, and I'm sure the Ameyo team can help you out with more details if you fall into any of these sectors. Right. So this is a customer success story, right? Now, it's called the Drink Prime, right? It's basically the smartest water purifier on rent. It is kind of used for more than about 1 lakh plus users, right? So their overall problem was to kind of give access on around healthy drinking water but right, and that's where it came in, right? So most of the water in plastic cans isn't fit for drinking. Less than 5% of Indians own a water purifier. This was just a problem, but an opportunity to help more people, right? So to reach out effectively to customers when they don't recognize the brand and purpose behind the call, right? So they were doing a lot of calls, and with this kind of came in identity and the reason. This is now something around, a kind of a call that they were making. So they kind of saw their first attempt, efficiency kind of getting up, increasing. So if you can see on the left hand side, this is a priority call, which was basically on the renewal of the service, right? So this call had to be kind of answered to them, right? So that's one of the customer updates from the head of customer success from Drink Prime. Right. As I mentioned, 1,000+ businesses kind of use this right now, and varied sectors from BFSI to education to auto to fintech. Right. So it's, as I mentioned, it's a very industry agnostic solution and can be used for multiple use cases.